The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
I remember having this same feeling around this time last year, and the back-to-back this weekend really had it settle in for me. We just got to get to the playoffs, man. The playoffs in game one can't come soon enough. The fan base needs it. We all need it. We could talk about Radim Zahorna.
I just yawned.
Yeah. We could talk about Radim Zahorna, who's a 6'6" revelation. I'm watching the game. I'm like, this guy is definitely an option to keep in the bottom six at some point if injuries permit or whatever. And you just know the fan base is at a fever pitch of boredom when I am seeing heated, angry debates on Twitter over the way Mike Bunting is being officiated. And I'm not sitting here, I'm not going to dispute that Mike Bunting's relationship with the NHL officials is complicated. It definitely is. But it's I just can't get that upset about it. I just can't. It's he kicked the guy's stick away. Do I think it was ridiculous? No, he didn't kick it all the way down the ice. It wasn't something that I thought was too much, but can we just relax? He kicked the guy's stick away. He got a 10-minute misconduct in a meaningless hockey game. They're resting important key guys to get ready for the playoffs. We just need to get through these next 6 games, however many there are, and just, oh my God, please.
Well, when you've been reviewed for taking the odd dive, and from what you see on the broadcast, Mike Bunting likes to run his mouth. So, what do you think? The old boys club of officials have banded together and decided that we can't stand this guy.
Yeah.
And he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt.
No.
That's just the situation he's in. It sucks, but whatever. You see it with Kadri. Kadri used to be in this situation too. It's you run your mouth and take dives, that's what's going to happen.
Sheldon Keefe said after the game that Kyle Dubas will take it up with the league, and I'm sure there will be some discussion, especially I think the concern is if this is a thing in the playoffs that costs you an important moment where a call goes against Mike Bunting or they don't call something on somebody interfering with him or whatever, and it impacts the outcome of a game. And the NHL officiating is sus enough that I do think it is worth a phone call to the league to say, hey, what's going on here? Let's get this sorted out. But I just don't see people at each other's throats on Twitter is a bit much for me. Now, you and I have been very transparent about what a slog this is going to be the last week and a half of the regular season. However, Matt Murray did us a favor last night because that is without question, in my opinion, the biggest talking point coming out of the weekend is Matt Murray is injured once again. And it was a freak situation. He definitely landed on the back of his head. But if you look at Matt Murray as a whole, he's been pretty much as advertised in the sense that when he's on, he's still a pretty good top-tier NHL goalie, but the guy just cannot for the life of him stay healthy. It's actually incredible.
Yeah, it really is. It's just any time you see any sort of contact involving Matt Murray, the immediate reaction is 6 weeks. Yeah, I saw him fall in the ice. 6 weeks. See you later. All this tandem talk in the playoffs. This guy probably won't be around for the playoffs. I don't know the severity of the injury yet, but
I think he's going to be evaluated for a concussion because he did hit the back of his head. So I don't want us to be our words to be minced here. It's the dude legitimately hit the back of his head. No one's disputing that. But
the Matt Murray's is suffering from what Mike Bunting's suffering from right now when it comes to injuries. He might have fallen on his head, and you can get a concussion doing that, of course. But but the amount of injuries that this guy's sustained, it's hard to give someone the benefit of the doubt of just having a whoopsie. So like, it's just, no, this guy legit has a problem staying healthy.
Yeah, and I think without question, I think the thing that was kind of like frustrating was he gets hurt and then Samsonov, who played the night prior, has to come in. And it's like you're risking, without question, Ilya Samsonov's your number one goalie, he's your game one starter, and him having to come out of the game puts Samsonov at risk. And I wonder if Murray is on the shelf, because if he has a concussion, he's on the shelf. Like I don't think we see him again. I think there's a possibility if he's legitimately hurt, that was the last night you see Matt Murray in a Leaf uniform. I really do think that that's a legitimate possibility. So do you look at maybe with these final 6 games, resting Samsonov and giving Joe Wall the ball here and just saying, listen, we're in the playoffs. These games, for all intents and purposes, are meaningless. So throw Joe Wall in there and see what he's got. Because if you look at next season, Matt Murray has a $4.6 million cap hit. That's a lot of money for a guy who's consistently injured. And it's like, I think that a buyout situation or potentially trying to get someone to take him like they did with Peter Mrazek is a legitimate possibility in the offseason, because you can't have that much money dedicated to a guy who can't stay healthy.
Yeah, you're right. He really came as advertised. Like, I think we tried to stay as optimistic as possible when this move was made, and everything that people who know Matt Murray well said was going to happen has happened.
Well, and and he's looked. There's a couple games off the top of my head, like the Dallas game earlier in the season, where he's looked really good. Like he's played really well, but it's the guy cannot stay healthy. Like, and at the end of the day, when you have that much money committed to a goaltender and you've got another guy who's taken the ball and run with it pretty much all year in Samsonov, and then they're really high on Joe Wall. So I think next year you're looking at a legitimate possibility of either buying out or moving off Matt Murray, giving Samsonov a contract extension, and then having Joe Wall be his backup. And I think that's the Leafs' potential goalie 1-2 for next season.
I mean, the Leafs goaltending situation. One day I feel good about what's happening with Samsonov, and I just respect the year he's had. I think he's been very solid. But one day I feel really good about the goaltending. Not really good, but I feel okay about the goaltending situation going into the playoffs. And then another day, like today, maybe because it's Monday and it's, I just don't feel, now all of a sudden I'm back in the camp of this could potentially be a bad situation in the first round. Like now all of a sudden I don't feel as confident. Because what if Samsonov sucks? Like he's showing that he could suck every once and again, even though he's also been pretty good.
No, I wouldn't go as far as to say he's shown he can suck. I think he lets in the occasional softie. But at the end of the day, like, listen, like they went into that first round series last year with Jack Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I
there's
gotta
no
tell myself that.
It's not like there's
the
been
worst goalie in the league.
And even Freddie Anderson, Freddie Anderson had moments through his career in the regular season where he looked like an elite goalie, but could never string it together consistently in the playoffs. So this situation of going in to the first round with a question mark in net is not new for them. It's been the case every year, and they're just going to have to overcome it. And I think, listen, if you look at his body of work throughout the season, it's encouraging.
He and Freddie Anderson are very similar. Like they both kind of have the same numbers, like .915 save percentage, 2.4, 2.5 goals against, can let in the odd softie, but also can look very, very good and make you feel confident. It's pretty uncanny how similar they are in my eyes.
Do you see a scenario of them getting rid of Matt Murray? Like, are you bought in to that?
No, I'm not bought into that. I don't know. I have no idea. Because you don't know what's going to happen with Samsonov either. Like I know he's an RFA, but that's a problem I want to worry about after. Like I don't really want to think about that right now. The word buy. When's the last time a team bought anybody out? It's not like something Kyle Dubas really does. Plus, do you even have the cap room where you want to pay? I don't know what the buyout number would be, but like it's going to be it's going to be over $1 million. So I don't know. Like I don't even want to think about that right now.
Are you comfortable potentially going in with? And I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because there's no choice. But like Joe Wall as the backup goaltender.
No idea.
Ilya Samsonov.
Haven't seen him enough.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna put Murray on IR, then let Joe Woll play like 4 of these final 6 games. Like put him in there. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really interesting.
Well, they finally sat some guys.
Yes, they did finally sit some guys. Which, listen, I'm not a huge "I told you so" guy, but you and I have been sitting here for well over a month, being like they need to consider load management down the stretch here, and some people just get really triggered by the idea of load management. And it's like, no, Mark Giordano's 39 years old. Give the guy a night off. I was encouraged to see him do it with Marner. Like, yes, when's John Tavares getting his night off?
Yeah. Well, I think people cry because, I mean, at the end of the day, they can always just use the result. Like, the Leafs completely outshot them. They dominated them in possession time, but they take a 5-2 L, and that's a person's reason for being like, "Let's why don't sit guys." Because I mean, if you do look at the standings, like they only have 1 game in hand on Tampa. Tampa's won 3 in a row all of a sudden, and they're only 4 points ahead of them. So it's, I mean, yeah, it is pretty close. But I firmly believe, I'm not going to budge on it, that load management is good. Like, I think you need to get some guys off their feet and just chill for a night, especially against Detroit. Like, they have some big games coming up too. It's like, if you're going to take the chance against a team that's not going to make the playoffs. Like, you got Boston coming up, you have New York, you have
Tampa,
like that. Those are games where
Florida Panthers, who say what you want about them, are still in the mix fight. Like, that will be a huge
they're
game.
in the playoffs now.
Yeah,
like,
that'll be a huge game for the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's out right now and Florida's in.
I think you just got to sit back if you're Sheldon Keefe and go, how much does home ice advantage really mean? Because if we're saying, because it's locked in, like everything's locked in, everybody's clinched. We know the first round matchup. We've known it for a while, but it became official over the last couple of days. So I think you just got to sit back and go, how, like, are we going to lay it on the line to get those games, the home ice advantage in Toronto?
Here's what I know. It doesn't matter with this team.
Yeah,
they've lost in Game 7 in Boston. They've lost in Game 7 at Scotiabank. So it really, like, the last 2 Game 7s, they've lost at Scotiabank. Like, and then before that, they lost in Boston. Like, it's pretty sure they lose to they lost to Columbus Game 5 in Toronto too.
Yeah, it was in the bubble, but it technically was home ice.
Yeah, home. Like, I don't care. Like, the Scotiabank crowd sucks anyway, so it's like you're playing in front of a silent crowd anyway. So it really doesn't matter.
In the playoffs. We were there for a playoff game against Boston in 19. It was
the atmosphere is better in Ottawa when the Leafs are playing the Sens. Like, it's like I'm sorry, the Scotiabank Arena is brutal.
Oh yeah, and for regular
But yet
season.
I'll be the first guy to sit down and not make noise whenever I'm at the game as well. So I guess I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but
I would rather, to be honest, roll the dice on home ice. Roll the dice on home ice. If I was still coming up with cutesy titles for these episodes that do nothing for SEO, I would call it roll the dice with home ice. I would rather roll the dice with home ice than like risk injuring one of your key guys. So I would rather load manage and potentially eat a few L's down in the final 6 here and lose home ice than risk having one of your key guys be injured.
yeah, especially with all the 11 and 7 they've been playing. Like, Marner and Matthews are getting like 23, 24 minutes a night when they got 11 forwards out there. So, I mean, they're both still young guys, so like they're in good shape. They're professional athletes. They should be able to handle it. But at the same time, it's just one bet. Look what happened to Matt Murray. Freak accident. He's done. See you later. No more tandem in the playoffs. Like, it's
and I think keeping Ilya Samsonov healthy is of the utmost importance here. So you gotta just, like I said, if you gotta throw Joe Woll in for most of these games just to get him. If, like, I would be looking at it going, Murray's potentially on the IR. You're going to be our backup. We need to get you in and get you as many reps to keep this guy healthy. So in you go, Joe Woll. Like, straight up.
Where's Ryan O'Reilly?
I
saw him on the ice skating around doing some drills, but I'm not gonna lie. I do feel really bad for Kyle Dubas.
Yeah,
that
both
has happened.
Riley and Nola Chari are out
because O'Reilly's gonna he's gonna get a couple games in here before the season's over. But at the same time, it's maybe that's too much load management for a guy. Like, like maybe he just comes back and he just can't like catch up anymore.
Well,
I believe in his playoff ability because he's shown it in the past. The guy's won a Conn Smythe. That's the top of the resume when it comes to playoff success. But Kyle Dubas is shit luck, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, if this guy comes back, he doesn't have his legs under him, and he's just not that good. Like that's a bit of a disastrous situation.
Well, I think it's again, I think the theme of today's episode is load management versus like it's a tough thing. Listen, we've been really critical of Sheldon Keefe and his deployment of the roster over the last few weeks here, but like I don't envy the spot the guy's in.
You can't quantify it. You can't quantify if it actually helps or not. The only information that any team in pro sports has about load management is Kawhi Leonard with the Raptors. Like, and that worked out for them, but this isn't basketball. And it's just it's on paper, it sounds like a very good idea to sit guys and have load management. But again, all the people who are like, no, screw it, they also have a point because there's just no way to quantify if it works or not. It's an opinion, it makes sense, but it could mean absolutely nothing in the end.
100%. You look at the situation with Ryan O'Reilly, and it's like on the one hand, you're like, no, we want to keep you out to make sure you are as healthy as possible for game one. We just like as close to 100% that you can get. That's where we want you. Or you look at it and go, let's bring him back maybe a touch early than we want to, but at least he's getting in and getting his legs under him.
I'm getting him in as early as possible.
Yeah, well, I think with a veteran guy, you trust that. I honestly don't know. I was just going to say, I think you trust that he comes back and is able to have his legs under him and compete right away. But you're right. You have no idea. There's no way to prove that this is a smart strategy and it's going to work.
Yeah, it just makes sense in my head. I would like a night off to sit in the press box and mow some pea corn down.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah. Well,
I know Samsonov wanted to do that.
Well, how do you get in and
Murray
grab
got slew-footed?
How do you get in and grab the pea corn when you've got a broken finger?
That's true. You gotta
go. You gotta go.
Well,
left
I forget
hand.
what hand he.
Yeah.
I forget which. I think it was the right hand.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, you gotta. It's hard to eat pea corn. Yeah, you were saying that when we were watching the game, the Detroit game, where you're like, I'd be so rattled if I was Samsonov. You're just settling in for a night off, and your goalie partner who just can't stay healthy for more than 5 minutes has to come out of the game, and in you go. And he said after the game that he wasn't like, I think that was a huge reason for he just wasn't on his game, and nor should he have been. He was not mentally prepared. He was supposed to have the night off. He said after the game something to the effect of, I was in the gym earlier today, so I was feeling a bit sore. Like he just wasn't in the zone to go in there. And so it's like, I don't know.
He came in and he didn't even face that many shots. Like, from what I see, he only faced 16 shots. Like, it was the Leafs badly outshot the Red Wings. Like, I thought the Leafs I thought the players did the best job they possibly could of keeping the puck in the offensive zone most of the night. Like, but I don't know, I don't care about this game. It was just one of those nights. Like, he came in cold, whatever. It just sucks that he had to come in cold and also risk potential injury. Like, that was the unfortunate part of it.
There are a lot of people on Twitter who are discussing John Tavares' 5-on-5 slump.
He sucks.
to put it bluntly, I don't think he sucks. I think it's
I know.
It's like he can't drive a lot. Like he's a veteran guy. The issue with John Tavares is never whether he's a bad hockey player or not. The issue is he's $11 million center who can't perform like an $11 million center anymore. And we always knew that when we got to these later years of his deal, that was going to be the case. So that's why I don't like complaining about the contract, because like I said, it's spilled milk. And when they signed him, they thought by the time they got to this point and hit his career and in the contract that they'd already would have been competing for cups. They haven't got out of the first round. They've had really bad luck with the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, and the salary cap not going up. Like you mentioned, Kyle Dubas' awful luck earlier. So to me, the discussion with John Tavares is less about like, oh, he's not good enough to live up to his $11 million price tag. This is the reality of the situation. He can't carry guys as well anymore. So how do you put him in a situation for success? This is why everyone who's like, oh, it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to go 1, 2, 3, Matthews, Tavares, O'Reilly down the middle for game one. And I'm not entirely sold on that because I think putting Tavares on the wing with O'Reilly worked out pretty well for a few games. And I think it sets him up for success and he can be more of an offensive force 5-on-5 than he has been.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just he just can't keep up with the play. That's all it is. He's just useless through the neutral zone. Like he cannot carry the puck. It's why everyone has loved William Nylander for years about zone entries. It's because that guy can get the puck in his own end and skate through the neutral zone and get the zone. John cannot do that. As soon as the puck hits his stick and he has some speed, some goober is right on his back and to check him. And the thing that I've really noticed like this year in the NHL is just all these, like I'm on the goal scoring leaders right now and just all the names that have just come up out of nowhere. And it's kind of slapped me in the face that like, yeah, the contract's the contract, but like he only has 33 goals. Like, like that's great. It's a good season, but it's just, sometimes it's just not good enough for what this team needs. And it for me, and it pisses me off kind of, but at the same time, he's a point a game player and he's good on the power play. And I don't know. Some days I'm just like, I'm happy with what he is. And some days it's like, here's Carter Verhaeghe who has 40 goals. Like who the hell is Carter Verhaeghe?
Well,
it's just, you're right. This is the later part of the contract. And it's a shame because when they signed them, the hopes were so high, but like it hasn't worked out at all, really. And now it's like you're kind of getting to the end here. Like it's kind of a failed experiment.
Well, again, and it's not entirely their fault. They had some bad bounces with, like I said, with the pandemic and the cap not going up and everything. But it's, again, I don't want, to me, sitting and complaining about his contract is a waste of time. There's nothing anyone can do about it. Yeah, there's nothing anyone can do. But there's some people, Ryan, who are still like, he's at the $11 million price tag. It's like, let it go. You can't change it. It is what it is. So it's on Sheldon Keefe and the coaching staff to be like, John is still an elite force on the power play, and he's still elite below the hash marks in the offensive zone. How do we put him in a position where he can succeed in those scenarios and less of him trying to transition through the neutral zone against guys who are way faster than him?
Yeah.
I
get it. It is spilled milk, but like just the odd time it creeps in where you're just like, it does hurt them sometimes. Like I honestly do believe that.
Yeah, but guess what?
It is what it is.
Guess what? If you can get him in a situation where he's below the hash marks and he scores a big goal, like last year in the one that got called back in game 7 for the Justin Holl pick.
Yeah.
If you can get him in a situation where he's down below the hash marks and he scores a big goal, no one's going to care. No one's going to care about his 5-on-5 slump. No one's going to care about his $11 million price tag.
But he hasn't, like, we're a couple of years too late here. Like, it's like he should have scored that goal 3 years ago.
Well,
like,
he did last year and it was called back. And
I
don't care what you pigeons say who crushed me in the comments after game 7. It was a brutal penalty call on Justin Holl.
I thought it was a bit of a pick.
Well, I don't care.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I don't care.
Right.
Chirp me all you want. I don't care.
Yeah, you got roasted.
Oh, I got one of the worst one of the worst. What's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, you just got roasted.
Call out,
roasts you
just had a take of my life that was in the comment section of our Game 7 episode when I said, I hate that call on Justin Holl. And everyone's like, well, it's a clear pick.
Yeah.
Homer.
Whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Matt Murray. It's going to be interesting to see like how they end up deploying Joe Wall. I don't know. Let's just get to the
how
the
many more
playoffs.
episodes do we have here? Like how many more episodes do I have to suffer through?
Realistically,
get excited.
You've probably got 2 more. Got next week, and then we'll obviously do a playoff preview.
Okay, so we got Sunday next week.
Yeah.
And then but at least the playoff preview, like I'm okay with that. It's like I'm done with the regular season. Like you'll have Sunday of next week, and then that's it. I feel like one more, and then a playoff preview.
The Boston Bruins have 125 points.
Yeah.
They do. Do you see a scenario where they get in and just roll all the way to the East Final, or could it be a Tampa scenario from a few years ago where they lose, maybe not get swept, but lose like Tampa lost to Columbus?
See, I actually liked the Penguins matchup, but I think if they play the Panthers, they're gonna just that's a 4-game sweep. I think they are sweeping the Panthers, no problem. I did like the intrigue of having like all the, even though Pittsburgh isn't Pittsburgh of old, but they still got all those names who've gotten it done 3 times. So it's like, that's kind of intriguing, where it's like, could Sid and Gino just like have one more little run in them? But if they play the Panthers in the first round, they are just sweeping them like it's nothing.
I just think the stars have aligned for this team all year. Like, what real adversity have they gone through all year? None. Like, they've been dominant from the drop of the puck of the first game this season. So I'm just kind of like,
but I just think they're that good, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're that good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just from top to bottom, they're just a very good hockey team and have the best tandem in the NHL as well. Yeah. Like, just 2 stud goalies. I'll tell you one thing. If the Leafs beat the Lightning, then the Bruins will steamroll themselves all the way to the final. But if the Lightning somehow beat the Leafs, like, all bets are off. Like, Tampa.
So you're saying if the Leafs beat the Lightning, you could see the Bruins steamrolling the Leafs?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Not steamrolling, but like, the Leafs are. If the Leafs played the Boston Bruins in a 7-game series 100 times, I honestly believe they would lose 100 times.
Call me Mr. Rose-colored glasses here, but I just think I'm interested to see what happens with the psyche of the Leafs. Like, if they can get the monkey off the back and break through the glass ceiling that is the first round, I'm interested to see what that does for them mentally. In a playoff situation. I just could see a scenario where it's like, we finally did it. We're playing, because let's call a spade, and all you trolls can comment and go, oh, that's pretty pathetic that this is the expectation of the team. All that matters is they went around. That's literally all that matters. If they went around, there will be parades in the streets like they won the Stanley Cup, and any second round, third round series is house money. Like, that is just a fact. And if you are somebody who's listening to this and going, that's pretty pathetic, you're not accepting the reality of the situation, because that is the reality of the situation.
And I don't get how you could have any higher expectations when like we're going on almost 20 years not winning around here.
Yeah,
like,
they win one round. Kyle Dubas is here to stay. Sheldon Keefe is coming back. The core of the team is coming back. Like, won't be any, like, if they lose, then I think all bets are off and you could see some potential changes, like real changes for the first time. But I don't. 1 round win will be treated like a Stanley Cup. And listen, I'm not criticizing. You and I will be sitting here over the moon if they can win 1 round. So
at least the most excited person on planet
chirp us all you want, but it's realistic expectations.
Yeah. I just think on this planet, this multiverse, the Toronto Maple Leafs are just incapable of beating that franchise in anything.
Oh, you're talking about Boston,
yeah,
not Tampa. Yeah. All right. Well,
can you picture it? Like, sometimes I lay in bed at night after watching a Leaf game and I close my eyes and I just try to visualize the celebration after a first round victory. And I just don't, it's just not in my head. It's just, I can't, it's so hard to imagine and picture. It's just if they just think, I don't know. Like, I pray and I hope that it can happen, but I don't know. I can't visualize it.
I'm maintaining that I think if they can get the monkey off their back of a first round playoff series win, I think that all bets are off, and hopefully after that they're playing with house money. And if they did end up playing Boston, I do not see a scenario where the Bruins steamroll them. I could see them battling it out to the end, and they might win, they might not. But
I'm not going to steamroll them, but they're not going to beat them.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get out of here for today. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. Also, if you're listening to the audio version, little 5-star review, little comment if you can. Every little bit helps. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you next time.